Yes, you heard me right. Anthony Bourdain really did eat here. Welcome to Rachel and David's Travel Adventures. For Rachel's birthday, I arranged for us to take a short journey to Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston is a beautiful city with a rich history, and we wanted to take in as much as we could in the short time that we would be there. In essence, we were going to cram in a lot of history, food, and sights in a 24-hour time. We generally love to stay in the heart of Charleston, but during this pandemic, hotel prices are very high, especially in the center of cities. Because of this, we found a room at a True by Hilton hotel at a good price that was only 15 minutes away from the center of Charleston. Our True by Hilton hotel was clean, and it was an inviting place where you could hang out in the lobby with friends and also have a place to put your head down at night when you were ready to go to bed. It was a very pleasant hotel, and the customer service was excellent. Because we arrived in the early evening, our plan was to go out to dinner, relax, and decide on what we were going to do for our one day in Charleston. Being in Charleston is an open invitation for us to eat seafood. One of Charleston's most iconic seafood restaurants, and a must-go-to if you are visiting Charleston for the first time, is Hyman's Seafood Restaurant. Located at 215 Meeting Street, Hyman's has been in business since 1890, first as a dry goods business and then as a seafood restaurant. It is one of those restaurants that serves great food but has a lot of character with it. We have eaten at Hyman's several times. On this trip, however, we wanted to try out a couple of new restaurants. On our first night in town, we ate at the Swamp Fox, which is located just inside the Francis Marion Hotel. Francis Marion was a Revolutionary hero from South Carolina, and his nickname was the Swamp Fox, hence the name of our restaurant. The Swamp Fox restaurant, located at 387 King Street, has a menu with several low country dishes. It also has a nice cocktail selection. One of the cocktails they make is called an ankle breaker, which was created at the Francis Marion Hotel in 1951. The drink is made with 151 rum, cherry brandy, lemon juice, and simple sugar. For an appetizer, we had some fried green tomatoes that was served with a red pepper jelly and goat cheese. The blend of ingredients went well together. Rachel had the she crab soup and the southern sampler for her entree. The she crab soup is a Charleston classic, and the southern sampler includes such items as pimento cheese, pickled okra, and melt-in-your-mouth pork belly.
Yum yum, gotta have some good stuff.
I had the award-winning shrimp and grits. They were absolutely delicious. After we ate, we walked past the Francis Marion Park, heading back to our car before going to our hotel. On the western side of the park is a historical marker that was once the location of the center of the American lines during the British siege of Charleston in 1780. The siege of Charleston was the beginning of the Southern campaign during the Revolutionary War that ended in Yorktown with the defeat of the British. However, the siege was one of the worst defeats for the Americans, with over 5,500 casualties for the Americans versus 258 for the British troops. After we woke up the next morning, we picked up some breakfast and coffee in our hotel. Our first stops were to Fort Moultrie and Fort Sumter. Fort Moultrie and Fort Sumter are grouped together on the same National Park brochure, but they are at different locations. The location where Fort Moultrie stands has played a role in American history going back to the Revolutionary War. At Fort Moultrie, you will have to pay an access fee unless you have a specific pass, like a veteran's pass or an interagency pass. In addition, children under 15 are free. Located on Sullivan's Island, the name of the original fort was Fort Sullivan, which was part of the second system of fortifications up and down the East Coast. It was built using palmetto logs, which helped withstand the British shelling. The palmetto logs were pliable and helped to absorb the bombing rather than cracking. Because of this, the Americans were victorious, and the palmetto tree became the inspiration for the state nickname, the Palmetto State, and for the palmetto tree that is seen on the state flag. Near the later part of the war, the British were able to bypass the fort, and thus began the British siege on Charleston that we talked about earlier in this video. Fort Moultrie also played a leading role up to the Civil War and at both battles involving Fort Sumter. Fort Moultrie remained an active Army fortification until after World War II. From Fort Moultrie, it is a 20-minute drive over to Patriots Point in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, where you can get on a ferry to Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter is free, but you have to pay for the ferry transportation to get over to the island. The ferry will take you 20 minutes to get from Patriots Point over to Fort Sumter, where you will need about an hour to tour it. Fort Sumter was part of the third system of fortifications for the young country. Located on what was originally a sandbar, engineers concluded in 1827 that it could be designed to build a fort upon. In 1829, Fort Sumter was constructed. The fort is most known for being the opening battle for the Civil War. Union troops had mustered onto Fort Sumter from Fort Moultrie. On April 12, 1861, at 4:30 in the morning, a flaming mortar shell exploded over Fort Sumter from Confederate troops. After 36 hours of firing cannons and guns from both Union and Confederate forces, the Union troops had no more resources to fight on, and they surrendered the fort to the Confederate troops. In 1863, Fort Sumter was involved in a second battle that was a little lesser known. On April 7, 1863, the Union troops began its efforts to reclaim the Charleston harbor with a frigate of ironclad monitor sailing vessels. As part of this effort, Union Major General Quincy Gilmore had Union gunners from Morris Island to take aim at Fort Sumter. They pummeled Fort Sumter. At the end, Fort Sumter was reduced to ruins, but the Confederate flag remained. After our visit to Fort Moultrie and Fort Sumter, it was time for lunch, and I had a little surprise for Rachel. I had planned for us to eat at a well-known diner in the South called Waffle House. I know, Waffle House. What is so special about Waffle House? Well, although being a diner that I grew up eating at when my family would travel, this particular Waffle House is where Anthony Bourdain ate at for his series Parts Unknown. Yes, you heard me right. Anthony Bourdain really did eat here. The episode was filmed during the 6th season in 2015. It is one of our very favorite scenes with Anthony Bourdain. This Waffle House is located at 325 Savannah Highway. I had a cheeseburger with hash browns, and Rachel ate pecan waffles like it was presented in the TV episode. It not only satisfied our appetite, but it was also an entertaining place to visit. In part 2 of our day in Charleston, we will journey downtown for shopping, more history, and a wonderful meal. Please leave a comment below of other places that we might want to visit when we return to Charleston. If you like what you see, please smash that like button and subscribe, and we'll see you on our next adventure.